Well, I just got out to my cabin. Got out here just before dark. Don't like traveling at night. I'm actually on high alert. There was a cougar sighting earlier today. There's actually been lots of cougars being spotted because we have a really high deer population. So I'm just getting the fire started. It's quite chilly outside. I'm gonna make a fire base of birch. I always build an upside down fire. So the wood stove's going now. Should warm up in here pretty soon. This is my first trip in about 4 weeks. Our weather's been all over the place, you know, above freezing. Then last week we're minus 50 wind chill. If you're new here, this cabin is built entirely from scrap wood. Wood that was going to end up in the landfill. This wood stove I made myself out of an old metal drum and some steel pipe. Pretty much everything in here has been repurposed. This cooler, for instance, was getting tossed just because the hinge was broke on it. This is my emergency pantry in case I ever get stranded out here. And actually several times last winter I was stranded out here for a couple of days due to the weather. All winter long I've been stocking it with food, and I actually have more food in here than I do at home. I want to start using it up because I'm not too sure how the weather's going to be. I think we're going to have an early spring, so I don't want all this meat to spoil. I got a rabbit in there from a while back. We had some snowfall a few days ago, and when I got out to the cabin, there were fresh coyote tracks all over the place. One thing I forgot to mention, this is the first time I've never brought food with me, only some water. I'll be living entirely off my pantry for the next few days. I have my rabbit and some bread dough defrosting. I'll be getting my clay oven going here in a little while. I brought out some really cheap whiskey. I put in a tea bag of salted caramel and some fresh coffee grounds to make it taste better. And a friend gave me some apple pie moonshine. Gonna split up some spruce for the clay oven. This is my grandfather's axe, probably over 100 years old. The axe head anyways. Built his first log cabin with it. A little trick I learned a long time ago on splitting up kindling. Been looking through this wood pile, and this is some really nice straight grain wood. You want to avoid anything with knots and that's twisted. So I got my axe upside down. Of course you got to be careful. And you just hit it with a mallet on top. And you can make really quick kindling. This is how I use my axe to make feather sticks. Got to make sure you stand off to the side in case you miss. Then you take your kindling, and you just find the right angle and start working back and forth. my clay oven I made from an old barbecue lid. I just buried it in the ground with clay. It's like a wilderness crock pot. My clay oven's been going for about an hour. I'm just going to rake out the coals. Way too hot at the moment. If it's too hot, you can always throw some snow in there to cool it off. But a lot of times I just use my hand to gauge the temperature. Put my hand close, start counting. Gives me a pretty good idea of how hot it is in there. The rabbit's all defrosted. Just have to figure out how to season them up. You got onion soup mix, beef bouillon, some spices, mixed vegetables. As I mentioned many times in past videos, this is a cast iron pot. It's got a removable handle, so you can turn it into a Dutch oven. I made this tool out of rebar so I can pick up the pot and put it in the oven. I baked my bread for about 20 minutes at 400. Now it's time for my rabbit. I'm not too sure how this looks, but it sure smells and tastes fantastic. Put lots of seasoning on the rabbit. Just so full of flavor. Well, I just checked the temperature outside. It's minus 15. It's going to go down to minus 20 overnight. Just having a little shot of moonshine to my parents. I think about them all the time, and I miss them so much. Good morning. Just having some coffee and hot chocolate. Didn't have too bad of a sleep last night. After I got up, I cleaned up in here and organized. You know, whenever I get up in the morning, it's always a disaster. I got to work on my smokehouse. In case you're new, I have a storage tent where I keep my firewood, and I have a wood stove in there, and I'm trying to convert it into a smokehouse. So I switched to a stovepipe from going horizontally out the side to going up through the roof. I didn't want to go through the roof because then you have more water coming in during the summer. That seemed to help. I partitioned the storage tent off, so it's a smaller area that's getting smoked. I have a thermometer in there. It's about between 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit for cold smoking. And I got some roadkill in there smoking away. This is pork tenderloin that I cold smoked for a couple hours, and some maple wood chips. Then I cut it up and put it in some pancake batter. It is really, really good. So I was sitting here and I could hear some quads coming. I zoomed in. They're quite far away, and there's actually no way for them to drive up in here. It's pretty rough terrain, but still, my wood stove in my smokehouse was dying down, and it was just pouring smoke out. I thought maybe they might see that, but they sat there for quite a while talking, and then they left. That's good.